What if you begin to build each other up? What if you begin to encourage your spouse? What if you begin to lift them up? You know what that shows when you begin to encourage them? That I believe in you and I believe the best is yet to come. Watch this. What if you begin to treat your spouse like you wanted them, what you wanted them to become? Think about this. Imagine if you begin to treat your husband what you want him to become. You treat him like a loser, what do you expect him to live like? You treat him like a deadbeat, what do you expect him to live like? What if you begin to build your husband up, encourage him? You want him to be the man? Then start treating him like he's the man. You want her to be the queen? And you start treating her like she's a queen. See, what if you begin to build them up into what you want them to become? How do you do that? You encourage them. You build them up, not tear them down. And so many people, watch this, I see it all the time. They realize, man, this ain't going nowhere. I'm just in it. And you just keep tearing each other down, cut each other down, cut each other down, cut each other down. And you're wondering, no wonder I have no hope for my marriage to be fixed. Hope is active, and hope believes that the best is yet to come. People will rise to the level of your expectation and encouragement that you give them. You even see this in kids. You give them encouragement. You give them expectations. You believe in them. And all of a sudden you'll see them rise to the occasion, to what the bar that you set by how you treat them. You know what the number one thing that destroys marriages? You know what the number one thing is? Not affairs, not sexual sin. People, I've known numerous of couples who've dealt with that, and they've got the strongest marriage they've ever had in their life now. Not financial issues. That's not what destroys marriages. It is one of the number one things people list as a divorce, but that's not what destroys marriage. Let me tell you what destroys a marriage? Neglect. And you know what so many married couples are doing around? They're neglecting each other. You know why you neglect each other? Because you take for granted they will always be there. You take for granted, I said I do, so they're in it for a long time. They heard Pastor Daniel's message that marriage is forever. They're not going nowhere. They're not going to leave me. But you still come home and bring work home with you, and you pour all your frustration out on your wife who loves you the most, and you assume she's always going to bear that and listen to that for the rest of life. And you neglect her, or you neglect him, and you assume there's always going to be a tomorrow. You're not promised tomorrow. And let me tell you, when you see a marriage go south, it's because someone began to neglect the relationship. And you know where there's a sign? You know how you know you neglect something? You know what the sign is? Weeds. Weeds. When you go through landscape and you see weeds, that's a sign of neglect. My wife, she always points this out to me. She says this. She goes, honey, there's weeds in the landscape. Here's how I hear that. Hey, you have some time this summer to get them out. That's what I hear when she says that. Yeah, get them out this summer. And then they die because the fall comes, right? And then you come home and there she is, outside, pulling weeds. Because I neglected to take care of her. Weeds is a sign of neglect. And if you have weeds in your marriage right now that's trying to choke the life out of you, it's because you neglected somewhere. So here's what happens. A lot of times when weeds grow up, it doesn't look pretty anymore, right? It wasn't pretty as what you thought it was. You said for better and for richer. You didn't want poor and for worse. You was like, it looked good then, but now it looks bad. So here's what happens. You begin to look at your neighbor's yard. Oh, look how green it is over there. Oh, look how fine she is. Well, if I was just married to him, maybe him and my relationship would be better. They always got these picture-perfect things on Facebook. They're always traveling everywhere. I always try to, you never travel nowhere. And you want to travel like, oh, and you start thinking about, what if I was with him? What if I was over there? What if I was married to her? And you think the grass is greener on the other side. Listen to me, sir. Won't you come home and start watering your own lawn? Won't you come home and you start dealing with the neglect and the weeds in your landscape? And maybe the dream in the marriage you've always wanted is right here. See, so many people think the grass is greener on the other side, but the problem is you got to cross the septic tank to get there. And it's nasty. Go home. Pull the weeds. Talked about that last week, the baggage. Take it out. Begin to fertilize. Sow seeds of love and grace and mercy and encouragement, and begin to build your wife, build your spouse up. And I promise you, you'll begin to have the marriage that you've always dreamed of. Stop neglecting her. Stop neglecting him. And begin to pour your life out to each other.